Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a highly technical, absolutely fascinating case study that could literally rewrite the rules of global transportation. We're breaking down Proyecto Zero A. For all you science geeks, mechanical engineers, and especially investors looking for the next massive, infrastructure-level clean tech disruption, you're going to want to pay attention. The core premise here is massive. What if the global energy transition doesn't actually require us to scrap the trillions of dollars we've already poured into internal combustion engines? What if instead we just adapt the engines we already know to run on green ammonia? We're talking about a synthetic liquid fuel with near-zero emissions. Let's get into it.
Here is our roadmap for the explainer. We'll start with the decarbonization dilemma, move through the science of green production, engine mechanics, the zero emissions reality, safety, and wrap up with the economics and commercial roadmap.
Section 1. The Decarbonization Dilemma. Limits of Current Green Tech. Okay, to truly grasp why ammonia is having a moment right now, we really have to look at the physical bottlenecks of our current green alternatives. I mean, we desperately need to decarbonize heavy commercial transport, right? But massive battery packs? They are incredibly heavy, which completely kills your payload capacity for freight. Then you have compressed green hydrogen. Hydrogen needs these 700-bar high-pressure tanks, which is just an absolute capital expenditure nightmare for building out infrastructure. Now compare that to anhydrous ammonia on the right. It packs a huge volumetric energy density of 22.5 megajoules per liter. But here is the kicker. It stores as a liquid at just 10 bar of pressure. That's practically the same pressure as the propane tank sitting in your backyard. That makes infrastructure unbelievably cheap to deploy. Plus, and this is huge for investors, there is already a mature supply chain pumping out 180 million tons of this stuff a year, mostly for agriculture. The foundation is already built.
Now let's talk about true greenhouse gas emissions, from the absolute origin all the way to the final use. The industry calls this the well-to-wheel analysis. Traditional gas obviously spikes way up, easily passing 70 grams of CO2 equivalent per megajoule. Even current battery EVs sit between 10 and 40 grams, depending entirely on how dirty their local power grid is. But the CRA system? It hits an astonishingly low 3 to 6 grams of CO2 equivalent per megajoule. That is a near-perfectly clean life cycle. It outcompetes even the most optimistic pie-in-the-sky projections for hydrogen.
Moving on to Section 2. Green ammonia production, 100% renewable.
Obviously, a clean engine doesn't mean a thing if making the fuel is dirty. Well, take a look at the closed-loop chemistry of this ecosystem. It is completely free of fossil inputs. Nothing is dug out of the ground. On the left, a PEM electrolyzer extracts hydrogen purely from water. The nitrogen? That's just pulled straight out of the thin air around us. Power this whole setup with wind or solar, and you've got a self-sufficient loop. For ESG investors, this is the holy grail. A highly dense, transportable liquid fuel made without a single drop of petroleum.
Step 3 here is really where the economics become wildly disruptive. To synthesize the ammonia, it uses a modified Haber-Bosch process with an iron catalyst. But here is the brilliant part. The patent for that specific iron catalyst expired over a century ago, back in 1913. It is totally open-source chemistry. There are no massive intellectual property moats here. Any emerging market, country, or independent consortium can replicate this process at scale, today, without paying millions in licensing fees to big tech conglomerates.
Section 3. Thermal engine adaptation. The mechanics.
All right, gearheads, this is where it gets fun. How exactly do we physically transform a standard 2-liter gas engine block to burn this stuff? It's all about exploiting ammonia's unique physics. Ammonia has a massive octane rating of about 130, way higher than premium racing fuel. That lets engineers crank the compression ratio all the way up to 14:1 without any engine knock. The liquid ammonia is direct injected at 200 bar, and as it evaporates, it rapidly absorbs heat. That creates chemical intercooling, naturally preventing thermal degradation. Because ammonia is tough to ignite, we swap in a powerful 100 millijoule spark coil. Throw in some aerospace-grade in-canal exhaust valves that can handle extreme heat, and you've got a perfectly durable combustion chamber.
And all those mechanical tweaks, they give us an indicated thermal efficiency of 47 to 50%. To give you some context, your standard gas car on the highway right now is hovering around 30 to 35%. By using that 14:1 compression and an ultra-lean burn, this adapted engine rivals and sometimes actually beats the thermal efficiency of the very best modern diesels. We are actually optimizing the thermodynamics here, not sacrificing them.
Section 4. Zero emissions. The post-treatment. Now you might be wondering, if you burn a fuel made of nitrogen and hydrogen at really high temperatures, don't you create toxic nitrogen oxides? Yes, you do. But the solution is this incredibly elegant two-phase chemical trap. The exhaust hits an iron zeolite selective catalytic reduction zone first. This literally uses trace amounts of the unburned ammonia as a weapon to destroy the NOx. Then, if any ammonia survives that, it flows into a second zone with a copper-manganese catalyst. That step just oxidizes the leftover ammonia, turning it into totally harmless nitrogen gas and water vapor.
And the concrete numbers absolutely back this up. Post-catalyst, those regulated pollutants plummet to under 5 to 10 parts per million. And check out the bottom row. This is absolutely crucial. 0 carbon monoxide, 0 unburned hydrocarbons, 0 soot. Because there is literally no carbon in the fuel, there is no carbon in the exhaust. From a public health and air quality standpoint, this is a game changer. It completely future-proofs the powertrain against crazy strict upcoming regulations like the Euro 7 standards.
Section 5. Safety and Risk Management. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. Ammonia toxicity. It's a real concern. But through heavy-duty engineering, the risk is managed to levels exactly like modern LPG vehicles. We're talking ultra-redundant layers of protection, double-walled tanks with leak detection, ultra-fast infrared sensors monitoring the cabin. If anything even looks like a leak, the system kills fuel injection in milliseconds. And honestly, human beings can naturally smell ammonia at just 5 parts per million, way before it hits the 100 parts per million danger zone. So it's an inherently self-alarming fuel.
And we are absolutely not inventing these safety protocols from scratch. We're just transferring over a century of bulletproof maritime and agricultural safety standards right into the automotive sector. Ammonia tankers have sailed the oceans for decades. The industrial world knows exactly how to handle this stuff. Having that historical precedent drastically de-risks this whole concept for institutional investors and regulators.
Finally, Section 6, Economics and Roadmap.
So, how do we get this on the road? This 3-phase roadmap is super aggressive but highly realistic. It moves from lab validation right now to demonstration vehicle fleets and aims for widespread commercial adoption by 2035. And the only reason that speed is even possible is because the base engine technology already exists. We don't have to wait 20 years to build brand new battery gigafactories. We just retool the automotive manufacturing plants we're already using today.
The economics here are just undeniably disruptive. We are looking at a target production cost of 380 to 520 euros per ton. That translates to pennies per megajoule. With this engine's crazy high efficiency, you could fill up your tank and drive 100 kilometers for a fraction of what you pay for gasoline right now. This is poised to totally upend traditional fossil fuel markets, even before we hit the massive scale planned for Phase 3.
To wrap up this explainer, I want you to consider the question on the screen. Are we truly ready to leave fossil fuels behind using the engines we already know? Think about it. We are looking at a technology with no rare earth metals, no heavy lithium battery packs, and open-source chemistry that belongs to humanity. The core science is proven, the economics are wild, and the infrastructure is off the shelf. The solution might literally be sitting right under our hoods. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.